On November 16th of 2021, Riot Forge announced a game called Song of Nunu to be released in 2022. Now, with me being a Nunu main, having a collective 4 million mastery points, and having grinded the challenger with him by my side, saying I was excited is an understatement. Finally, after some postponed dates and many teaser trailers, Song of Nunu released on November 1st of this year. Now that it's been around 2 weeks since the game came out, and I've played it through and through myself, I can easily say that this game is amazing. With the many categories that this game excels at, I know that the future of Riot Games is in a potentially interesting spot. In this video, I'm going to explain why. Just a heads up, this video will include spoilers, so if you haven't gotten to play the game yet and care about that stuff, I suggest pausing this video, playing it for yourself, and coming back. I personally have never really played action-adventure games on my own because I've always been more interested in games that are focused around a competitive multiplayer scene. However, knowing this, I thought Song of Nunu was so fun. Putting aside the fact that I love Nunu and Willump, exploring the Freljord was so cool considering we've never had an opportunity to adventure through the world of Runeterra like this. This game absolutely kills it in 3 main categories: the story, the setting, and the music. Diving into the story, you get to play as Nunu for 6 to 8 hours, trying to find his mother and simultaneously learn about the history of the Freljord. This mainly consists of Riot expanding on how the Watchers tried invading Runeterra through the Freljord, and how Lissandra, her 2 sisters, and the magical yetis stopped them. While a lot of the story unfolds through actual conversation, most of it is explained through ancient drawings that are scattered across the land. We also learn that Willump is an insanely talented artist, with cameos from Braum.
Braum thinks it is time for first hero lesson. Run!
Run?
No!
The hero we know him to be, who helps you advance through the story and gives Nunu important advice, and Lissandra. No, Braum!
Freljord's greatest hero has fallen. Now, Yeti, you're next.
Fuck you, bitch. Who's obviously the main villain of this particular story. You learn that all of the magical yetis were basically betrayed and sacrificed by Lissandra. Willump, being the Chad he is, thugged it out and managed to stay alive all these years. Nunu's mom guides you through the lands and tells you to find the Heart of the Blue, which is where she says she is. Once you end up in the area it's supposed to be, it's not there. Nunu's mom then says how the Heart of the Blue is inside him and always has been, basically confirming that she's physically gone but she will always be with him. From my understanding, the Heart of the Blue is one of the world runes. If you don't know much about the lore, these are the most powerful things in Runeterra that Rise works day and night to hide from evil people trying to attain power. They're the same thing that turned Brand into a fire demon, and they're the reason why Rise's skin is blue, since he's around them so often. However, even though they tend to corrupt those who try using them, Nunu is completely fine. It's because his heart is completely pure and innocent. So he was bestowed the power by Willump, who had been protecting it. While all of these specifics are only picked up from the game if you understand the lore, it's still apparent to non-nerds because Lissandra is also after the Heart of the Blue, after more power. As the final boss, you end up fighting her on top of an area where there are Watchers trapped in ice. Look, there's a Watcher. You end up gaining the upper hand, then choose to leave and the game ends. The reason the story is so good is not only does it reinforce the canon lore we already knew but with greater detail, it also pushes the lore forward in a way that still leaves you, as a player, satisfied with the ending. There were also many Easter eggs scattered around the map that I did not hesitate to make sure I found. Which leads me to talk about the setting. The Freljord in this game is what you probably imagined it to be, an icy desert of nothingness. However, while they were able to portray this with the vast barren landscapes and bottomless ravines, the Freljord was also portrayed with a lot of character. This was shown through its surprising amounts of flora and fauna, the ancient frozen warriors that told a story of their own, and the areas in which you'd encounter friendly faces like Riot Forge. The ambience was translated so well by the areas you were in and the sound production, which leads me to the final category being music. I mean, the game is called Song of Nunu. A lot of the puzzles you solved were done by playing Nunu's magical flute. It could be used to wake up giant krugs, manipulate true ice, or to just piss Willump off. Either way, all three of these aspects were nailed by the devs of this game, and those combined together helped create this environment that made immersion unavoidable. The game overall really reminds me of God of War. The combat is very similar, finding a group of enemies here and there and being able to execute them with finisher animations, learning new abilities that help you traverse through the harsh and unforgiving environments, and doing interactive puzzles that unlock the game as you play. The only big difference being you don't have customizable weapons or armor in Song of Nunu like you do in God of War. However, while this game has a similar format to other adventure games, the vibes while playing are just immaculate. At one point, you even get to explore the Howling Abyss while on a mission to save Willump, who had been captured by Lysandra. This was so cool because I genuinely love playing ARAM, and I always catch myself looking around the in-game map just because it looks sick. Also, Willump as a companion is actually so realistic. His actions through the story seem unique to each area, and he'll go as far as to give you hints if you happen to be confused on a puzzle, and just be extremely interactive in general, in a way that doesn't seem synthetic but more natural. So overall, after gassing up the game super hard, why do I think it means so much to Riot? Well, to answer that, I'd like to bring up the other games that they've released recently as well. Starting with something like Hextech Mayhem, which is a rhythm game that stars Heimerdinger and Ziggs. If you're not familiar with the term rhythm game, try thinking of something like Geometry Dash. You just cross a level of obstacles, and the level is usually constructed in a way that follows the rhythm and beat of a song. Next being Ruined King, which featured champs like Ari, Misfortune, Braum, Alawi, Yasuo, and others. This was a turn-based game. Turn-based combat, if you didn't know, is extremely similar to something like Raid Shadow Legends. That would have been a sick transition if I was sponsored, so brands hit me up. The characters you're controlling use abilities in turns, so the match is at a standstill until you decide which attack you want to use and which enemy you want to target. Then there was Mage Seeker, which is an action RPG game, meaning a role-playing game where you play as Silas. You travel through Demacia after breaking out of prison and battle different characters that we either already knew about or didn't yet, all with a very retro, pixelated art style. Finally, there's Convergence, where you play as Echo. This game featured a classic 2D platformer or Metrovania. Think of the Super Mario Bros. For the most identifiable example of a platformer, and Super Metroid or Castlevania as the literal example of Metrovania. You go through the game trying to save the future of Zon and Piltover. All four of these Riot Forge games are amazing in quality, respective to their categories. For the players who enjoy these types of games, they're amazing. However, that's where Riot's issues arise. For the most part, rhythm turn-based and Metrovania games are niche categories, including the 2D retro pixel style that Mage Seeker has. Since their styles are so niche, the audience of players they can reach is limited, meaning less people are encouraged to try playing them. Along with these games simply not being very accessible, their 2D nature doesn't allow for the immersion that you hope to get from a game based off of League of Legends. The major selling point of these games is to unravel the world of League. However, it doesn't compare to what Song of Nunu provided us. This adventure game is exactly what Riot needed, and it's obvious from the feedback. It is probably the most accessible style of game, especially considering it has combat aspects but does not revolve around that at all. The nature of this style also promotes the most amazing immersion into League's lore. One thing the League community is extremely excited for is the League of Legends MMO. Even though it'll probably release around 2026, integrations like Song of Nunu shows players what to be excited for. The 3D world incorporated in that game showed us world building like we haven't seen before, and it's safe to assume that, at least for the Freljord areas of Riot's MMO, We know what to expect. Aside from the MMO specifically, the greater idea is that even if people grow out of League of Legends, which is a MOBA, the future titles that Riot Forge will release can still be what those players transition into playing. Riot as a company makes a lot of sketchy decisions that turn the player base off. I covered these in my last video, so I suggest you check it out and come back to understand the context of what I'm talking about. Because of their inevitable cringe changes that they add to their main title League of Legends, people will eventually end up looking for other ways to pass the time. If Riot keeps putting out content like Song of Nunu, I think that they can consistently keep players in the loop even if they decide to stop playing League of Legends. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of Song of Nunu. If you have anything to add, leave a comment. I really appreciate if you liked my video and subscribed. See ya!